What's
Yeah,
good, Shoebaca? So I guess we can go ahead and get this going here in just a little bit. Figure you might as well give a little intro of yourself. Obviously, I know where you come from, but as far as viewers and Potato over here, he doesn't know as much.
Yeah, well, I am Shoebaca 5. Uh, I'm a nobody. I just started up the Low Elo Legends tournament, and I host that every week. I'm actually getting a ton of echo in my ears right now.
Oh, you probably have my stream on in the background.
Yep, I sure do.
I've made that mistake
There
on
it is.
on show
I was
before.
so
Don't worry
confused. It's
about
like
it.
I was trying to put up with it, and I was like, no, this ain't gonna work. Sorry. So yeah, I'm Shoebaca 5. I started the Low Elo Legends tournaments a few weeks ago, and
A
just
few
been having
weeks
fun.
ago. I don't,
Well,
it's been like months now. Come
okay, I
on.
think it's been like 2 months now. And yeah, just been having a lot of fun hosting that every week.
Yeah,
And of
really,
course,
really
Dr.
cool.
Dab's been streaming that too. So
Yeah, I know. A lot of the community members that get to participate in that are really thankful that you're kind of giving the opportunity for everyone that is able to have that
yeah,
tournament experience and have a good time. So
yeah,
really positive
it's been
influence
awesome.
on the community.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun for me too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I've been enjoying it.
I would love to hop in there, but unfortunately the time slot just doesn't work. I can't really do anything till my kid goes to bed. So
Yeah, I know
that's why we record at 9 Eastern. So
it's tough. It's tough. Because with all the different time zones, there's like no perfect time. But there's so many EU players that I figure I have to try and get it a little earlier
yeah,
US time so that we can get them in at least.
yeah, for sure. So how'd you come up with the idea and how has it grown over the last couple
Uh,
months?
yeah, so I don't really I never anticipated it. I just kind of one day posted on Reddit. Like I was just like, it'd be fun if there was a tournament that like I could play in or something. Because I don't want to enter into a tournament and just get smashed in the first round by someone in the top 10 or something. So I posted on Reddit one day. I was just like, "Oh, guys, who wants to do a low elo legends tournament? Like, who would be interested?" I posted a poll, I think, and it got a lot of attention. People ripped me over the name for some reason.
I remember.
uh,
You're still getting every post someone makes a comment about
I
that.
know, and but it got a lot of attention. I could tell that those were just the trolls, and all the people that actually want to do it were down. And so then I went on Smash GG. I had some help from Adico. I think he's like a community manager on Reddit or wherever in multiple different places, and he gave me some help on getting it started, and we just went from there.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I know I actually have participated in it and I have casted it before. It's always a fun experience. For those who haven't checked it out, you definitely should. We'll end up leaving a link below as well to at least the tournament brackets to where you can end up joining in. I'd say every week we get a response that says something along the lines of, greatest, so glad you put this on. I'm going to participate every single week now. This is so awesome. So really look forward to it every week.
Yeah, thank you for that.
So you've been splitting them up. So you have one bracket for bronze and silver, and then the other bracket for plat and gold.
Yeah.
How many participants you get in each week? About
So it's there's been some variation. The first week, I think we had like 58 people sign up, but then you always get probably like 25% of people that don't show up. So we were probably around, let's say, 40 players. And then for a while, we were hovering around like 20-ish each week. That's between the two brackets, so adding them both together, probably hovering around 20 to 30. And then last week, we actually had the biggest week yet. It just kind of took off. I think for a couple of different reasons, but it took off and we had 70, 72, 73, over 70 signups.
damn.
And of course, there's a bunch of DQs. People are busy, like they can't always make it. But yeah, no, we had over 70 signups, which I mean, I don't know of any other tournaments that have been anywhere near as big, other than like Golden League and obviously Road to Red Bull. But yeah, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, pretty cool. And anything special in in the future you got planned? Just gonna keep building it up
There's
how it
some
is?
plans. We're gonna keep doing these weeklies or bi-weekly, whenever I'm around. But that might also be changing since I've got 6 or 7 guys that are willing to be admins now. And so, if that goes well, then I'm sure they are capable of hosting it themselves if I'm not around.
Mhm.
And then other plans coming up. I do have plans for a league style. It's not fully set in stone, but for like a league style tournament where it'll take place over the course of like 5 or 6 weeks. And it'll just be kind of like you play on your own time against either like a round robin style type thing each week, or maybe a single best of 3 against someone each week. And you earn points, and then we'll count the best 3 or 4 weeks that you've had, and people that are the top performers will make it to the finals, and hopefully there'll be a nice little prize pool for them and whatnot.
That sounds pretty cool. That a system like that where you just kind of have an opponent. So you're talking about like your match with one opponent for a week, and then you have kind of like the whole week to coordinate between your
Yes.
schedules, or
Yep.
yeah,
Yep. So you have a full week to coordinate. So hopefully I allow more people to actually do it. I
yeah,
know
that
it could
would.
be weird with time zones and
Mhm.
stuff. That is, I know there's a couple concerns, but I figure we'll give it a go, see what happens, and yeah, hopefully it's some fun.
Yeah, I've seen other people do this in other games, but I don't know of anybody doing this in AOE4, and it,
Yeah.
it seems to work pretty good. So this is something I'm interested in
Yeah.
because, like I said, that your
Right.
current time
Just
zone
like
doesn't
for
work for
people.
me.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
yeah,
So it'll give access to more people, hopefully, and yeah. I mean, hopefully it works. But
yeah, I don't have. I really think the community needs that specific format because it's such a
right.
global game, right? And
Right.
so
Right.
just having one set time is difficult. But
Yeah.
I mean,
uh,
you see that
yeah.
conversation come up
Oh
in the
yeah.
Wololo
The
qualifier
Australian
Golden
guys
League.
are
Hmm.
pissed.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
I
not
All the
saw
wrong on that
Australian
color.
guys,
I saw
man.
Dinky complaining in
Yeah, Dinky
the
and Hut and
GC
all them.
chat.
I mean, it does make sense though if you think about it. It's like essentially I think it comes into their Monday morning like work day
Oh
or
yeah, no,
something.
no, no. I mean, they're totally valid complaints.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just, yeah, there's like never gonna be a perfect time for anyone.
yeah.
Mhm.
But I'm happy you're looking into doing that because I was kind of interested in starting that, but I don't have the time nor the organizational skills. So I
Yeah,
thank you for tackling
yeah, of
for
course.
tackling that.
Yeah, that should probably coming in July.
Well, I will
Probably coming
keep
in
my
July.
eyes
So
out for
yeah,
that.
keep your eyes
Yeah,
open.
that'll be fun. So yeah. Anyway, we have a giant update for the pup, the PUP,
Yeah.
and none of us are pros by any stretch. So if you want like high level, analysis of this, Blade, I know he covered these last night, and I'm sure Beastie did today. He always does this when
Yeah.
patches come out, but we can kind of have a little round table between the three of us, and I'm sure we'll disagree on some things, so that should be fun.
Of course.
But anyway, we have the color picker finally, right? Uh,
Uh, we're
you know,
starting with the best thing here. This is the
exactly.
best
So
feature being added.
One for one already. I saw Beastie was talking about that today, kind
Yeah.
of jokingly. He was like, "One for
Yeah, I
one. Look at
tuned in for
this."
a little while to that.
So yeah, definitely a good start here. The big thing is what colors are each of y'all going to pick?
Well, I'm becoming a Mongol main now. Everyone might hate me for
oh
that, but
no.
I'm loving playing the Mongols, and so I feel like for maximum just Mongol annoyance, I'll pick pink, just to humiliate people, and
Yeah, it's like so the Iowa Hawkeyes college football team, they have their locker room, the visitors' locker room painted pink. So
oh
it lulls
jeez,
them into a
throws
false,
them off.
yeah,
Yeah,
throws them off. So yeah, good psychological warfare there.
exactly.
I'll probably roll with orange or yellow. I haven't decided.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm purple myself. Just gonna stick with it. That's always been the color of
course.
choice.
All right. Well, okay. Now that we've covered the most important topic,
Yeah.
hotkeys, more options. I'm probably not going to take advantage of any of the new stuff. I'm kind of happy with where we're at now, but more options are always better. So I don't know if you guys have any things to add there.
I haven't learned how to use hotkeys yet, so I don't really have any input. I'm sure it's going to be good for people that want options.
Do you
I've just
do you
been
mouse
clicking.
click everything?
Pretty much. I set like my buildings. No, okay. I shouldn't say I don't know how to use any hotkeys. I set like
I was
my
gonna say you're
town center
Plaid,
to
aren't you?
4. Yeah, plat 2 right now. I set like my town center to 4, and then barracks to 5, stables. Like I set my production buildings to numbers,
But you
but I
don't
don't
use
know.
like the
I,
grid hotkeys,
yeah, no,
the
I don't know how
QQ.
like the letters for buildings and stuff like that.
Oh, I don't know them all. I know like
Yeah.
house, mill, lumber
No, I
camp.
click
That's
all
about
my
it.
buildings though.
It's funny
All my
this gets brought
units.
up literally right before we jumped on on this. I pulled up the AOE4
Yeah,
World tool
I know.
that shows the hotkey practice
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
and I said I literally just started doing it yesterday, and I was like, all right, now I already find myself naturally doing it a little more in game, and the more I do it, I think the more it just is going to become natural and become a actual second nature rather than having to think about and focus on it and click it or anything.
Yeah, no, I might actually start using that because I think that's the thing is like I'm too afraid of trying to learn it in the game right now since I'm so used to my way of doing it. So I don't want to like mess up what I'm doing while I'm playing ranked or something. So
Just do it in team games.
well, yeah, that's a good point. Uh, we all know I don't carry in team games, so yeah, I love that you actually brought that up because that actually looks like a sick tool on
Yeah.
AOE4 World. Yeah.
It really is, and that website has a lot of other tools for everyone out there. If you haven't checked it out, it is a very, very sick website with everything it has to offer.
Yeah, I keep forgetting the hotkey practicer exists because I need to start doing that when I'm bored at work. So we have a map preference system now, so you can downvote 3 maps in ranked and 5 in quick match, I believe. Yep. So, all right, what maps are you guys going to veto in the ranked pool?
All the water.
Yes. Anything with water on it.
Yeah.
I mean,
As far as
ranked is only Mongolian Heights, right? That's the
Yep.
only water one.
Mongolian Heights, then.
So I'm conflicted. So I'm an HRE main. So like I win most of my Mongolian Heights maps,
Of
but I
course.
hate the map. I hate
Yeah.
playing on it.
Yeah.
So I might just ban it anyway and just suck it up.
Yeah. What other ones are in ranked?
I'm trying to think of all
Probably
of like
Hill and Dale because you can use wall off.
Yep.
I think aren't they adding more or switching some up here next season?
I don't know if there's been a firm announcement, but I'm sure it'll change for season 2.
I'm
As far as
for
open
names
maps,
right
I couldn't care as much. I mean,
Yeah,
I like
Lipany,
all
High
the regular
View.
ones as far as Lipany, High View, Dry Arabia,
Yep.
Altai, French
Is
Pass
French
isn't
Pass
in
in the
it.
pool?
Nope. I
No.
don't even think King of the Hill's in the
King of
pool
the Hill's
right now.
not. I know that.
Yeah.
I want
the
them
ranked
to add
pool
I
King
like
of the Hill.
King of the Hill.
Yeah, I like King of the Hill. King of the Hill is fun.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have to make the pool bigger because there's only like 7 maps, and
That's
if
the thing.
each
I
player
can't even
downvotes
think
3,
of what I would ban other than Mongolian Heights and then I
Yeah.
guess Hill and Dale.
well, you don't have to ban 3. I think you can just ban
Yeah.
1. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Whatever my other lowest win rate is, that's the one I'll ban.
yeah. So that's it's another good feature that people have been asking for forever. So that's good.
Makes perfect sense.
Yep. Also get a new map, the Pits, which is kind of like King of the Hill, but instead of a hill, it's a pit in the middle.
Wait, is there already like a picture out for it and stuff? Or are you able to play it already?
On the pup you can. Yeah, there's been a couple
you can.
people.
Okay.
Yeah, Drongo made a YouTube video kind of going over all the pup changes, and he loaded it up and took a look at it. Yep. So pretty much you can put like your siege up on top and like overlook the sacred site. So I think it's going to be super hard to actually get the sacred site victory there. So it looks like an interesting map. So
yeah.
I think it looks fun.
That might be better though, because then it's not always just center focus King of the Hill.
Whoever gets a tower keep up first.
And the sides are like super wide, and the rush distance is really short. So if somebody somehow gets the sacred site, you could probably just kill their base.
Yeah.
If they overcommit to defending the site. So
makes sense.
It looks interesting.
Cool.
We got a panoramic camera option, so it's slightly more zoomed out. That's another common complaint I've seen on Reddit is that the camera is too zoomed in. So this will make those people happy.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the pictures. on like Reddit or something. I guess it looks cool. I guess that's something I won't have any idea if I like it until I actually try it.
I'm on the
Yeah,
same page there.
both Drongo and Blade, they both said like when they first loaded in, it was like, oh, this is super uncomfortable. But then
Yeah.
after like a few minutes, they were like, okay, yeah, this is
It
good.
works a little bit better. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I know people were bringing up like hitboxes, like if you're too far away, if it's gonna be hard to click on units properly and stuff. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not sure how much that'll
Then you
matter.
can just zoom in a little.
Yeah, well, does
But-
that count as extra APM?
If it does, we're gonna start just
Just
zooming in and out. Oh.
Oh boy. Okay. So known issues. So this is issues within the pup. So I don't really care. But we can talk about victory conditions for team games here, since this kind of brings it up. So, in team games, to get eliminated for landmarks, the entire team has to have all their landmarks destroyed. So you can't just snipe a single player's landmarks and knock them out anymore. So I think I'm in the extreme minority. I hate this change. I like it the way it was. Yep.
Really? You don't
Yeah,
like it?
I hate it
No.
as well.
No, this is
I love it.
what I envision happening is everyone is just going to funnel their resources to one player, get a wonder at like 18 minutes, and that's just going to be every game.
Oh, someone I was talking to 10-4 Tim last night. He did bring up the wonder thing, and that is a good concern. They probably need to do something about that. But
Yeah.
I
My friend and
definitely
I-
think, yeah.
And my friend and I queue just like as a 2-man team in 4v4s, and every game he just goes 200 vills into wonder.
Jeez.
And like the
Oh
only
my
time we have
gosh.
trouble is when he gets landmark sniped. Like every other game
Yeah.
we win, and so this like eliminates that possibility. So I think
I will agree. I actually played like a couple different Chinese games on like 3v3s where all I did was get map positioning, build keeps with all villagers, and it made the game so much easier for my teammates. It was absurd, and I had so many resources. I could funnel them off. I could build a wonder. I could do really whatever. So if it doesn't get punished, it's really absurd. But my biggest thing is I don't think they realize the long-term conditions of what that effect's going to happen with. First off, you're going to have those people that are frustrated and Mongols that go and chop through some trees, hide one landmark, and even though you killed everyone, they have one Mongol landmark hidden in some chopped trees that you're gonna have to search
I didn't even
for.
think about the Mongols.
Yeah, and then even if his teammates want to get out of the game, then it's like, okay, well now we have to surrender. You're gonna have to troll that. But then the biggest thing is the long-term extent of how long games are gonna last. In an actual 4v4, like you snipe the first player, he doesn't die, rebuild his town center or whatever, and then now it's like a 2.5-hour game, siege warfare back and forth, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours.
You're bringing up some good points that I hadn't thought about. I didn't think about making the games like a much longer time and stuff like that. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's the bad.
Okay. Yes, that might not be good. We'll see.
But
I'm still
this is
hopeful.
the PUP, so
Yeah.
I mean, I like the
Yeah.
idea of it. It sounds really cool, but at the same time,
It
it's
could
like
be an issue.
But at the same time, that makes it to where the high level opponents are going to know exactly what to do. If you completely demolish the person's eco, it definitely doesn't really matter at that point. It's
Right.
the guy can try to get back in the game, but they can just win it 2v1 or 3v1 or whatever it is.
Yeah. So I'm more concerned about the wonder. Like when I enter a 4v4, I kind of, have written off the next 2 hours of my life. So the game time doesn't really concern me as much.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's keep scrolling here. Got some bug fixes. So all the landmarks that like are production buildings or monasteries or keeps, whatever, they're now going to show up when you select that hotkey. So that's nice. So kind of annoying to select all archery ranges and not have it pick your council hall. So
Yeah.
that is no longer a thing.
I see. I put all my military buildings on numbers, so
Yeah,
that
me
didn't affect
too.
me as much. But I think I am going to make a little swap to my hotkeys here and only put certain military buildings, like 2 military buildings on hotkeys, and then use like maybe all stables or all archery ranges as letters.
I
And
use
then
the
that way
all barracks, archery ranges, stables, Siege Workshops is ASDF.
Plus,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So you don't like, but you don't tab through stuff, right? Like
Uh-huh.
you don't select all military buildings and then tab through.
Nope.
That sounds horrible. I don't know how people do that.
I used to before you could do all barracks.
Oh. Oops.
Yeah. So they changed the attack notifications. So hopefully there'll just be a lot less noise. If you have like a sprinkled emplacement tower shooting a lumber camp, it's not going to ping you every time it gets shot. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't-
this seems nice, except when it's that horseman in your gold that it doesn't
Right.
I was
ping
gonna
you
say.
about that you missed the first one.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I'm a little bit worried about the
Yeah.
like reducing the number of pings when multiple attacks are occurring next to each
I was
other.
gonna bring
Like,
up that
are
first
you gonna
bullet
miss?
point. Yeah.
Are you gonna miss something like important? I think that might happen, but we'll see.
My thought is if that, just how you said, a tower's attacking a building right next to it, and then all of a sudden a knight comes out of that tower and starts hitting, villagers right next to that. Is it going to be a different ping for you, or is it just going to still
Right.
not do anything?
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's stuff happening like that now, though. Like you'll have a like a trebuchet just shooting a random building by the wood line and just creating that constant ping, and then they'll raid the wood line, so the player just ignores it because they think it's still that same building. So I don't know. I don't think there's a perfect solution to that.
No.
We'll see. It's one of those that, we'll just see how it works out. I feel like that's how a lot of these are. They made so many changes that it's going to be hard to tell how it all combines together until we're just playing the new meta.
Yep. And speaking of new meta, so melee versus siege rework. So I'm pretty sure what's going on here is, the guys at Relic, they get off work, they go home, they eat dinner, and then they have a nice relaxing evening watching Blade stream. And they and they were like, man, Blade hasn't been doing too good since we rebuffed the Mangonel. We need to rework some things here. So Blade, I know, is super happy about all these. So let's kind of get into it here. So units that attack with melee weapons no longer switch to torches. So they're actually going to use their main weapons. So this is going to kind of significantly change how damage is dealt to Siege. You have to get on top of Siege. The torches had a little bit of range, but the Siege units have all gotten nerfed with health, so they'll die a lot faster. And we'll kind of scroll down and get to that in a minute. Horsemen get 10 plus bonus damage. The villagers still use torches, and they gain +2 damage to siege. And so there's been some confusion to this because currently they have 10 torch damage. So that doesn't make it 12. It's getting knocked down to 2. So they're going to do less damage against siege. But Rams got health a nerf, so we'll get to that too. And then the villager repair rate has been cut from 20 health per second to 5. So that's a pretty big change. I think everyone would agree that was too obnoxious. So this is a good change.
Yes.
Yeah, it made no sense when you'd have like 7 knights chasing down a trebuchet, and there would just be villagers killing it or surrounding it and healing it, and you're like, I got to focus the vills now, and then
but even that can be hard because if there's a big fight, it's like trying to click on the vills or just a move, like you don't know what your units are actually going to start hitting. Thank goodness for this.
I agree. I'm on the same page. Very, very needed change.
So ranged armor for pretty much all siege units is going to get buffed significantly. So they don't want crossbows to counter siege; they want melee and horsemen to counter siege. This will also help against like cannon and springled emplacements, killing all your bombards because that's frustrating as hell. So.
Yeah, this is gonna have a huge effect, and I think it really does make sense where range units are like just how you said, crossbows are no longer going to be able to snipe down mangonels when there's a 40 mass of them and just one-shot mangonels and make you feel like it's useless to even bring those out. It's really going to be melee units are going to be the counter to siege, but I think the big effect, which I'll talk about this later on, is that cavalry is kind of going to be overbuffed here.
The siege works armor bonus, and so that's just armor. So I imagine that's melee and ranged. is going up from 3 to 10. So that kind of seems like a mandatory tech now, based on these changes.
I looked up what the Siegeworks armor is right now. It's only ranged armor right now.
Okay. So will this
So
apply
it
to
was only,
melee? Or I don't know.
I don't believe so,
Okay.
unless it's going to in the pup. But right now, it doesn't. It doesn't apply to melee. It's only ranged.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I guess there was no melee damage done to Siege as of now because it's all torch
Yeah,
damage.
it's all torch damage.
Yeah. So that's someone's gonna have to clarify this. I haven't touched the pup yet, so
Yeah, me neither.
let's see. And then the kind of the projectile angle of trebuchets and defensive cannons are changed. So
This is just so funny. I mean, it's later on, but they changed the speed of the projectiles too for like bombards and stuff.
I saw that.
Where it's that you can see them. Like, I'm just imagining like a slow motion cannonball moving towards your spring alts, and then they just pop magically. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
I think there's just so much going on here with all the siege nerfs or changes, I guess I would say. I would call it a nerf. Also, the torch damage differences, the armor differences, the melee differences. There's just going to be a lot of different things going on
Yeah.
to actually see if this has a bigger effect. But I think it was a necessary change, and I think it was a change that's kind of been needed. But the bigger one is going to be the emplacement change.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of touched this earlier. So Ram's health has been cut significantly. So villagers are doing less damage now. So somebody did the tests on Reddit, and they said it takes one fewer villager torch to kill a Ram than before. So it's basically the same.
Yeah, so this is what doesn't make sense to me, since we're getting into all the health now. Is that the health, yes, is much lower, but everyone's damage is a lot lower too now without the torch damage. Because I was looking up like MAA damage and stuff, and other than the cavalry, which is going to do a lot of damage, everything else, like it seems like it's really only. It doesn't actually seem like, I mean, it's still a nerf, but it doesn't seem at the big nerf that people are making it out to be. Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't crunched the numbers, but like with everything dealing less damage to them, the fact that they have less health doesn't necessarily mean as much.
I think Blade said it, like 5 knights can one shot a mango.
They can.
Yeah.
Okay.
With
So
the
cavalry will be
charge.
really good.
They get their charge bonus. So
Yeah.
I think, and not only that is, I think horsemen get an arm. We'll get to that. Horsemen got an armor buff later on, so I think we can
Right.
see a lot of bit of the mass horsemen, which we've already been starting to see more. But as far as the siege differences, I think the one sitting right there in the middle with the Ribaldaquins is going to be they actually might be utilized now, because if you think about it, the problem is they could never get close enough to actually get their shots off. And now if archers, crossbows, whatever it may be, aren't going to be utilized as much, they actually
Yeah.
might be able to move up a little bit and fire down on that main melee army or whatever it may be, and get some shots off.
Yeah. So Springolds had their bonus damage to siege reduced. Not by that much, actually. So are they actually stronger now with the health, with all the health going down across the board?
I see. That's where I'm not really sure. It's these are all. It's all going to be able to kind of see once we get in the game.
Yeah.
But basically, across the board, all the health goes down, all the damage is going down. I heard Blade and Drongo kind of mention that bombards aren't really going to be worth building anymore.
Well, let me scroll down, because I'm they're less good against everything else, like units, right? Because their damage is reduced from 170 to 100, so that's huge. But they got a pretty big buff to buildings.
But they basically said, why not just get trebuchets at that point? You're going to have more
True.
range.
Yeah, but the buff to the buildings is negated by their regular damage being reduced, isn't it? Because their damage is reduced to 100, and then the bonus is up to 7. So like
you're right.
the two
Okay.
cancel each other. So it's
I
actually
see.
the same damage versus buildings.
Exactly.
So
I gotcha. Okay.
yeah, I don't.
Trebuchets, it's sort of a similar thing. So they're whereas the damage reduced from 100 to 50. So this kind of hurts English pretty bad because they were able to pump out all those cheap trebs and get shattering projectiles, and with trebuchets they were kind of able to keep the enemy army at bay, and that's not going to be as strong anymore.
But now they won't have cheap trips.
Well, no, they do. The Wingard Palace are 2 additional armies. You still get the current one.
Yeah.
So you just have more
Oh,
options
wow.
now.
I didn't read that. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
That's good.
They can
really
still get
good.
mess. And now
Yeah,
that
okay.
trebs are actually going to be better, possibly, than bombards, or in certain situations, might make that even stronger. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Siege, we'll see there. Obviously, same thing with the nested bees. Lower health, ranged armor increase, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious in how keeps, how the power of keeps is going to be affected by this. So siege is going to be easier to kill. So does that make keep stronger? And then now keeps require stone to repair instead of wood. So any civ that's able to passively generate stone. So if French goes Guildhall or Roos with a Golden Gate, I think that's a big buff to them late game.
Yeah, I think this is gonna make keeps a lot harder to maintain, and I'll be curious to see how much it affects as far as how much stone you're utilizing to repair it compared to how much stone it would be to just build another keep in comparison. Because a lot of times you see with those keep wars, someone will just put 4 vills on it, allow that 5 minutes to delay their trebuchets until they get 4 or 5 trebuchets, and then the keep ends up going down, but they stalled out until the Chinese economy behind it boomed up. So that's really going to be a harder effect to happen. So that's going to be the big change.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, for sure. So yeah, overall impressions, I'm very excited because this, siege being worse kind of fits my playstyle better. So
I'm
me.
skeptical. I'm skeptical with how many changes are being made at once.
Well,
and not knowing the ratios of losing the torch damage to the ratio of health that was reduced, and the fact that you have to get closer. I'm skeptical as to some of it. I know the damages went down, which is good for like the bombard and stuff, but
I also think keeps will just out. I know a couple people in my chat have said it. Keeps will just be replaced by towers, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Even though we're going to
yeah.
see a little bit of the emplacement nerfs here in just a moment, I still think they're effective. They're going to have multiple, vision areas, and the base damage and stuff off of all that siege, kind of just how we mentioned, or health and stuff will change. So
And
we might not see siege as much.
if you wanted to, you could just upgrade your tower, your outpost with the stone, and you can still repair it with wood.
Yep.
You don't. It doesn't
Yeah.
become a thing where you have to repair it with stone.
Yeah.
And you might not see someone having 3 trebuchets to one-shot a tower like you would in the meta beforehand. So like we said, I think a lot of these things are going to be things that we'll see here in just the coming weeks, and people blame the PUB.
And well, that's all the changes happening at once.
Wild.
This is really far away. Like, I don't know when season 2 actually starts, but we're probably a month out at least.
July. I think it's July.
And so they'll be looking at kind of the balance and performance of all the civs throughout the pup, and if things are too out of whack, they'll adjust it, maybe dial some things back. That's what happened the last time. We had 3 or 4 changes during the last PUP. So don't need to grab the pitchforks just yet anyway. So
no, there's plenty of time.
Yeah. So keep that in mind, China mains. We'll get to you. So a few changes here. I don't really see anything super interesting. So Stonewall gates are going to be able to be attacked while under construction, keeping it consistent. Keeping it consistent now with the Stonewall stone walls. So this was a big one actually. Arrow slit and placement's bonus range has been decreased, so that's going to make tower rushing not quite as strong.
Yeah, it's no longer put 2 towers behind the wood line, upgrade them, and all of a sudden they've chopped, 1 tile too much, and they can no longer utilize that wood line and have to totally
Well,
you know.
So that's what I'm curious about. Is it actually going to nerf the towers that hard that they're really that much worse?
No.
Like I feel like they're still going to do exactly what you need them to do, which is
You
denying resources
need to be
for
more
a certain
precise.
amount of time.
You need to be more precise where you place them.
Okay, that's true.
But that's about it.
So I need to move it forward 1 tile.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing where, like, you think about, one of the common counters to the boar strat was placing a tower,
That's
upgrading it with
true.
arrow splits.
Yep.
It's going to have to be 1 tile closer now.
Yep.
And so that's going to be easier to deny on the roost side if they already have their wooden
Yeah.
fort
I
up, things
think
like that.
it'll
Yeah.
help in specific situations like that, but I think overall, in terms of resource denial, it's still. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal in terms of like, oh, I'm just going to go place a tower on every one of their food sources, and now they have to stay under their base for food or something like.
Yeah.
All right, sprinkled emplacement damage decreased from 60 to 40. And the attack speed has decreased from 6.25 to 4.5. I don't know what these units are. Is that attacks per minute?
I can't figure this out yet because it sounds like to me your attack speed, if it's 6.25 and 4.5, this sounds like a buff if you're thinking about if it's 4.5.
Well,
I
so
can't tell.
so 10-4 Tim did the math for me. If his math is correct, it's a slight debuff in damage per second. So if you're assuming that every 6.25 seconds he was shooting, now it's going to shoot every 4.5, but the damage is decreased. He said it went from like 9 damage per second to like 8.8. So it's barely, but I think it'll help with the he brought up with the ranged armor being increased. Like each shot will do less damage to like
True.
siege units and stuff like that.
And my big thing is if you notice the difference at 60 to 40, how much health does a Vil have? It has 50 health. It will
Yep.
no
Yeah.
longer one
One
shot
shot
a
a Vil.
Vil.
Yeah, I'll spread
And
that.
that is going to be that big thing because I've seen so many games where someone doesn't get textiles and one sprinkled tower gets put on their big gold line. They don't realize it for a couple seconds, minutes, whatever you want to call it, and all of a sudden it's 10
Yep.
Vils are down the drain and it's game over.
Yeah. So not a huge nerf to the DPS, but to the way the damage is dealt, it is a big difference.
Yep.
Similar thing with the cannon placement. So this is just a damage nerf, no attack speed accommodations there.
I think necessary. I mean,
Yep.
like we said,
for sure.
like we said, towers are going to replace keeps most likely,
Yeah.
and it's good to see that they're at least having a little bit of a nerf there. I might want to see maybe even a little more on as far as the sprinkled emplacement goes.
Yeah. Yeah, after watching Dabs in team games, playing whenever he plays Mongols, I definitely think that cannon emplacement getting decreased is a good thing for his 100 towers that are on the map.
Yeah, it's when you got those extra resources, there's nothing else to do with them, so you might as well throw those bomber towers down.
Yeah, when Hut made that video like 3 months ago, like talking about just late game, the status of late game, and he complained about towers, I was like, I'm going to start doing this. And
Yeah.
it definitely helps a ton.
I-
So
I got it from all the pros playing Nomad and playing against them, and all of a sudden I'm like trying to run through someone's base, and I'm like, I'm miles away from their base, and they have 25 bomber towers on the way already, so it's game over. I'll just throw in the towel.
Yep.
Yep. All right. So we got the stone change for repairing keeps. Already talked about that. Relic limit on all monasteries and landmarks that act as monasteries is set to 3. So if you are lucky and get 4 or 5, you're gonna have to build another monastery. So
Unless
nice
you're
little change there.
main.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's right. So HRE, we can obviously put them in towers or keeps or whatever. So don't necessarily have to build another monastery.
They keep trying to like force that down people's throats. It's like they want
Yeah.
people to put them in towers and keeps rather than just the regnants.
It is kind of funny how
Like, they
badly
bring
they
it up
want you to
every
do that.
and now I think it might actually have that effect. But
Yeah,
I've been
we'll
seeing it
get
more
there.
and more lately, anyways.
We'll get
Yeah.
there. So let's see. Keep landmarks. Now activate a new weapon for each of their garrison slots. I don't know what this means, but it sounds like a good change.
Yeah, it sounds like they're making it work the way it's supposed to work. I was going through this, and every time it was just like a bug or like a bugged landmark. I was just like, oh, good, they fixed this 7 months too late. Oh, good, they fixed this 7 months after it should have been worked.
Yeah.
Sunwall Health, when construction begins, reduced from 10 to 1%. So you can't just. So now it's even more difficult. They already changed it so that we can attack stone walls under construction, but now you can't just do the one tap and still have it have a lot of health. So
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of
I love
times you would
that.
see that one tap, and you would still have, even with one villager against, let's say, 5-minute arms, he'd be able to one tap all the wall things, and you couldn't even burn one down in time if
No.
someone was good with their APM. They could just switch to whatever wall segment you're trying to burn down, out build it up. So maybe this will make that change to where you can actually just immediately tear it down right when they build it in your face.
Right.
I thought this developer note was kind of interesting. So they say this change is a step in the right direction, but we've got future plans to ensure stonewalling is a proactive strategy and not reactive. So a little curious to see what they are thinking there, but I'm intrigued.
I'm not really sure there either. I actually didn't. I didn't read that full note the first time I read over it. Now I'm kind of like, okay, let's see.
Yeah, I feel like that could mean a lot of different things.
So kind of skipping a couple things. So spearmen perform the spear wall animation faster and do not trigger until charging cavalry is closer. Great change. This was a pain in the ass when I was using spearmen men at arms, because the cavalry would come, the spearmen would brace, and the men at arms would keep walking forward, and the men at arms would absorb the night charge and not the spearmen. So
Yeah, I kind of laugh about this because it's still like we needed this like a long time ago, but it's like, all right, does this change the effect that cavalry are gonna have? We'll see if it's enough. We might have to see a little bit of a spearman buff potentially.
Yeah.
I wonder how close it actually is, because unless
Yeah.
it's like super close, players with high APM are still going to be able to trigger that animation.
I'd always laugh when, just like you said, your spearman would be like a couple tiles away and they just start waiting, and then the knight would just walk around it, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I feel like an idiot.
I mean, I totally abused this like yesterday against someone. I sent one of my knights in and triggered it, and then pulled him back without getting hit, and then sent the rest of my stuff in, so that none of them got stuck. So, yeah, I mean, it needs to happen.
There you
'Cause
go.
if I can do it, most people can probably do it.
Grenadier damage has been decreased, and the weapon range has been decreased. So, rip China.
Yep.
Nah, they're still strong, I think. But
I think everyone agreed that grenadiers needed a nerf. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if the triple nerf was what they needed, but I'm not
Yeah.
complaining. If the game gets to the point where grenadiers are out and getting masked, I don't care. At that point, it should have been over a while ago.
Yeah.
Maybe not in team games as much, but it's still, I don't think we'll see that masked grenadiers as much. But whoever knows.
And then here's the horseman change you alluded to. So their armor scaling increases. So instead of 2 each age, you go 1, 2, 3, 4. And so this helps late game scaling, because you're diving between buildings and you can't get there's less surface area to fight ranged units. So this will help them out a little bit. Monk train time reduced. So this is another thing they keep trying to push, is getting monks being used offensively on the battlefield. I don't know. Players are kind of reluctant to do that because of the cost, but we'll see.
And until they make it so that when you A move or something,
Yep, your
the
monk just
monks
doesn't
automatically
run.
heal and not just run to the front, then it's
Yep.
totally pointless, because everyone A moves at some point, and the monks are just going to die every single time.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Okay. Some miscellaneous miscellaneous changes. We talked about the landmark victory. We talked about the projectile speed. Herbal medicine cost has been reduced, and the research time 60 to 45. But they increased research time for Delhi, so they were kind of the only civ really using it anyway. So it's a buff for everybody else, but a nerf for Delhi. Well, for the research time anyway. Yeah. Siege engineering has been reduced. So ram rushes, we already talked about the ram rework. So villagers, as far as villager damage is about the same as it was before, but now rams are going to get there 15 seconds faster. So
I think this makes sense. If you think about it, just how the little note says before, a lot of times, even when people would scout, let's say the stone and the second town center coming down, they're like, okay, I know second town center's coming down. Let me just build a blacksmith, get to siege engineering, have that 300 wood to build the ram, also have the infantry or archers or whatever you need. It's hard to react fast enough in that, so saving 15 seconds can go a long way.
Yeah. Agreed. Also, for people like me that sometimes forget to click on the upgrade, very helpful.
I imagine it would be. Professional scouts, so you can queue the drop the carcass before you have the carcass. So it just makes that a little less APM intensive. You don't have to remember to, select your scouts once you have all the carcasses to move them back to your base. So slight buff there for all of us non, 400 APM players. And let's see. Oh, here we go. Religious.
Oh,
I didn't see this earlier.
I didn't see this either.
Religious units now prioritize healing when using an attack move command.
Oh my
there
goodness.
we go.
There you go. Now I'm gonna make mass monks every game.
Battle prelates. Let's go.
Okay, we'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. I didn't see that in like the couple of times I went through the notes.
Yeah, I didn't either.
It says Bruce Warrior monks are exception and we'll focus on Saint's Blessing. That does make sense. So
yeah,
we obviously do like this and makes perfect sense. So this is a huge difference.
Yeah, great change.
All right, so now we get into the Civ specific stuff. So we'll kind of go over each Civ and talk about, kind of all the changes as a whole and how we think that'll help or hurt the Civ. So start with Abbasid. So they get some more influence on their mill. So the House of Wisdom influence is a little better. Yeah.
You don't have to build that first house right next to the mill. You can have it a little further out, which will help as far as base layout total. So I like this.
Yep, me too.
Yep. Other than that, it kind of just looks like bug fixes. So no real big changes for Abbasids.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and mention they fixed like the trading on basically every single civ. If there was any sort of bug or difference, or French had the weird bug with the Chamber of Commerce, they basically fixed all the traders on everyone else and correctly have updated those. So that was kind of a lot of these points in there, which is great now that they have finally figured out a lot of these.
Yes.
Yep. So I think Abbasid was sort of needing a little bit of help and they didn't get any.
Yeah, they really didn't change anything of meaning, like anything that's actually going to help the average Abbasid player.
Yeah.
So
just a lot of bug fixes, but I think that we'll see if the siege change will affect them and how that will, because obviously they're one of the civs that can build their siege on the field. So how much will that be of an effect? You might see siege less for other civs, and it's harder to react when you have a mangonel immediately being built in your face and gets built right off the bat. You have to react with Siege Workshop and then queuing that up. Just how we just mentioned with the blacksmith and Siege Engineering, it takes quite a while to get Siege out on the field to counter out.
Right. So the mangonel did not have damage, nerfed like all the other Siege units. So kind of keep that in mind. And Abbasses, they like to build spearmen, so they might be able to protect their mangonels. And actually make them useful. So we'll see.
Yep.
Chinese. So too bad Wham's not here since he's the China expert. But
Speaking of that, I'm just gonna go ahead and give him a shout out. I was watching his stream right before I turned mine on, and he queued up, and him and Blade were talking about how much they dislike China. They don't really play the Civ much, and I redeemed my channel points right off the bat and said, "Hey, you're playing China this game." He got matched against GUA and got the good old W. So big shout out there, and it was always fun to watch when someone doesn't play a Civ, even though they're pro and they're good enough at it to get the dub.
Yeah. So, China mains on Reddit, are decreeing that the world is ending. So, they do that every patch though. So, is the world actually ending? What do we think about all these changes? So, file answer movement speed is increased. Whatever. Their attack. So there's going to be a lot of these notes where there's an attack speed change, but they said they made some changes on the back end, so it's actually not a buff. It's just keeping it the same.
Yeah.
So kind of ignore all those. So Pyrotechnics only affects hand cannoneers and not bombards anymore. So no 12 range bombards.
I personally love it.
I mean,
I'm so happy.
I think this makes sense. Like again, the problem with Chinese, I love the Chinese civilization. They have such different ways to adapt and change and have utilized their civilization. And the problem is they were so focused on, hey, our siege is the greatest. This is all we're gonna do. So they're kind of changing it up. I think hand cannoneers with extra range sound very, very strong to me.
Yeah.
So
And
it doesn't
with the buff
really
that
seem
we'll get to later.
exactly.
But I'm really happy because what frustrated me was that they had the same range as Culverin.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, Culverin don't have to set up to shoot, but they also take more than one shot to kill a Chinese bombard, I believe.
Yep.
So it was just kind of like, how are you having, a bombard not getting countered by this unit that costs 1,000 resources and is made specifically to counter it? So even if they had reduced it to like 11 instead of 12 or something, I'm happy with it.
Yep.
So reload drills actually got a buff. So the bombards won't be 12 range, but they do have a little bit of extra attack speed. So.
Yep. And look at this. There's actually a buff for Chinese. The granaries cost less wood. I think this makes perfect sense. By the time you're building granaries, you are usually having to invest a significant amount of wood in the farms around it to make the granary pay off. So 250 was quite a bit. This will allow you to get, extra farm and a half.
Yep.
Barbican can now have emplacements. It's another one of those where it's like, I don't really know why that wasn't the case before, but makes sense to me.
Yep.
So
kind of scares me though now with the Barbican rushes, and then it's like, oh well, now when Chinese gets the Castle Age and that Barbican in my face now has a sprinkled emplacement on it.
That is scary.
How big of an effect will that have? But I think with the Barbican rush, anyways, by the time it's down, people, if it's in your base, people get very tilted off of it, anyways.
So the Great Wall Gatehouse has been reworked quite a bit. So it no longer provides the bonus health to stone walls and gates. So that's kind of big. But it now comes with an S&B's emplacement that fires a burst of 16 arrows. And any units that are on top of stone walls get a 25% range damage. So that's a mechanic that I don't really see used. That probably should be used more.
Way early in the game, we used to see that build. I believe it was out of English very early on, where it was basically builded stone wall across the whole entire map. You keep your longbows on tap. Yeah. And so we might see that get pulled out again of some sort, especially with maybe some siege differences. But the ranged obviously won't do damage to that siege, but it might be, leave your archers on top or hand cannoneers or whatever it may be, and have horsemen running around killing any siege they try to counter it out with.
Yeah. Well, so remember the hand cannons get that extra range now, so I think it takes them from like 4 to 5.5, which is more than an archer now. An archer has 5 range. So the upgrade takes them to have better range than archers. And then with this 25%, I think it's up to like 7 point something range, which is over 2 more range than an
range
archer.
damage, not
range. Just damage.
Oh shoot, I'm sorry. I read that wrong. Isn't there oh, okay, my bad. I thought there was somewhere in there that that you had extra range on the stone walls. My bad.
Oh no, you do. You're right.
anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, you do.
Yeah, it's not exclusive to China. It's just
Oh,
it's a
okay.
okay.
global thing.
Well, okay, but I mean that's
Yeah, you're
still
right.
gonna be insane,
Yeah.
right? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
It could
Yeah.
be.
No. It definitely makes sense.
Drongo, he's a China main and was kind of talking about this. And he said something I think makes sense. So if you put this kind of in, near your farms with the nest and bees in placement, that's going to really make raids difficult. So it could keep their farms safer. So Spirit Way, this is a really interesting one. So it no longer reduces the cost of Dynasty units built around the landmark, and now houses the Dynasty technologies, which are cheaper and research faster. So that's just the unit upgrades for your Shogunnu and Fire Lancer and Grenadiers. Am I missing any? Is it just those three?
Yeah, no, those three, I believe.
Yep.
It's not gonna have like the unique bombard upgrade and stuff like that, right? Like the Pyrotechnics and no?
No.
Okay, good.
But yeah, so the weird thing there is, it's kind of odd where it's like, are now my dynasty units the sacrificial lamb of my army to buff up my other units?
Yeah, we got this buff. So when a
Good thing,
Dynasty
man.
unit dies nearby, units receive 20% attack and 20 health over 10 seconds. And this can't be triggered by manually deleting your unit. So someone's going to figure out how to make this super strong.
Zugnu hand cannon, unstoppable.
And then also it's gonna, a lot of the complaints are though, it's like, okay, by the time you're getting, grenadiers out or whatever, it's you're paying for an extra imperial at that point. It's a late game. How often does a China game get to that point anyways? So
Well, no, but if you just make the Spirit Way, and most of the time you're going to be Song already, and you
yeah,
can get Zugnu out and just have them out strictly for the buff.
yeah, I guess they
I
are
feel like
pretty
that
cheap.
buff. I feel like that buff is going to be. I don't know. It's hard
I
to know,
saw
but it sounds
Blade.
insane.
I saw what was it? Blade and Drongo were kind of testing army comps with it and kind of messing around with it. It did look pretty nuts, but they were testing against Roos Streltsy, which obviously are a quite the strong unit. So I didn't
Yeah.
obviously get to see it against everything, but it does seem quite odd though, where just how we said, just delete, it triggers, and
And for 10 seconds, that's a long time in a fight. That's a long time. And if one just keeps dying, like you have like 10 in your army, and a couple just die in a row, and you're buffed out for the entire fight. I mean, that's insanity.
I wonder how big the radius is.
Yeah, that matters too.
Yeah.
I did not notice that, but yeah, it's gonna be weird. But a lot of just how we said, it felt like Chinese nerf, kind of a Chinese buff, Chinese nerf, kind of Chinese buff, Chinese nerf, and I think it was an overwhelming kind of more nerfs than buffs, which doesn't seem the greatest for Chinese. But they are trying to change them to more of a being able to benefit from their early game. Obviously, they're going to have a better farm transition. That was one of their biggest pain points. So it might actually kind of help them in the bigger scheme when they actually aren't realizing it.
Yeah, the Spirit Way buff to me kind of feels like nobody's gonna know really how to use it, and then in a month, B is gonna figure out how to break it, and it's gonna be super strong.
Yes.
My chat said it's like the longbow setup camp radius.
That's huge.
Yeah,
that's huge.
That's big.
That's so big. That's going to be insane. I don't even care what other people say. That's going to be out of control.
Yeah,
but again, it's the pup, so it'll hopefully get changed.
Yeah, I was going to say China mains. Go play on the pup because they're going to be looking at win rates of all the civs, I'm sure. And if it's 35%, they're gonna not nerf you guys as hard. So
yeah, go lose purposely.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Don't do that. I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Oh, we'll get there in a little.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Delhi. So slight buff to Imperial. So their Imperial multiplier research time is reduced from 15 times to 12 times. So it's not going to take 45 minutes to get Hone Blades. That's only going to take 37 minutes.
Hey, it's the little things that really matter.
Yep. So some adjustments here for technology research time. Some were increased, some were decreased. So the kind of the more interesting one is survival techniques was decreased a ton. So I think you can get wheelbarrow and survival techniques in Dark Age. So that's going to help their food income
Yeah, it's
quite
pretty
a bit,
nice, I feel
actually.
like.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and what a lot of people aren't realizing, and I know we're about to actually get to this, the Dome of Faith, it says changes minus 50% cost to minus 40% cost. So they cost a little more and the 50% production time. I know in the PUP, the production time change isn't currently working. So you don't actually get faster scholars out than you should from the Dome of Faith. It's still 45 seconds. But I think they were meant to change that. And in the grand scheme of things, Delhi having more scholars out faster is more than fine with the updated cost difference because those technologies will come out faster. They're going to have more scholars out in the field for healing, efficient
Yeah.
production, so on and
So
so forth.
so I was in Beastie's chat for this point, and he was confused whether it was plus 50 production time as in adding time or reducing time. And they said core and someone else in chat was saying that all monks, like they said monk, but in reality it was like all monks got
Mhm.
reduced to 30 seconds. And
Exactly.
then the plus 50% production time was actually boosting Delhi back up to 45 seconds purposely so that it doesn't get so that it's
Huh.
actually a nerf because the cost reduction is less.
Their wording is just so off.
Yeah,
I
it's
know
so
that
bad.
I know
So
that
like
it's
I don't know
45
for
seconds
certain.
still in the
Yeah,
PUP, so maybe
exactly.
it is like that, but then why would they not just
I don't
say
know. It's so
Dome of Faith
yeah.
time remains unchanged, but
I,
I don't know.
they made it
Because
very
it literally
confusing.
says, oh, okay. So now I guess I realize it, but it says with the new decrease in scholar change time, so now
Yeah,
it
but
boosts it
because they
back up.
said monk before, it's very confusing because monk and scholar are called two different
Yeah.
things. But they're so it depends. You know, it could be either way. Who
So
knows?
now the only difference is you're going to have 3 on gold rather than 2 on gold to maintain constant scholar production. Not a big change.
Yeah.
You also might see some people pump out some more scholars from their actual mosques as well. So we actually do see that a lot more in pro games. I myself don't know how to utilize scholars. I kind of just throw them in and hope they're healing and and don't really know. And like we said, I'll a move and then all of a sudden my scholars are faster because I get the swiftness upgrade through and they run to the fight and die.
Yeah, but now the A move works to heal.
Uh, yep.
Supposedly.
Supposedly.
Yep.
Supposedly.
Tower Elephant ranged units now properly affected by all damage upgrades. So I didn't know that they weren't before, so this makes them even better. And bombards are nerfed, so this will be fun.
Yeah, I think I think in my Discord that was mentioned that oh Delhi needed some help and I'm like you don't realize that Bombards being nerfed is the biggest
Yeah.
buff to Delhi that there is. Um
It's like, how do you kill
s-
them now properly?
so yeah, exactly. It's gonna be harder to counteract that when Delhi has that steamroll and you can get Imperial and they're sitting in castle for 15 extra minutes and you're like, I still can't deal with these elephant masses. And now those elephant range units are gonna be doing more on top, firing off their arrows.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could
So
be tough.
overall buff to Delhi because of the elephants. English, not a ton here. They got some naval changes. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. I skipped over every single thing that was about water when I was reading through this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so Wingard Palace Landmark, 2 new production options. So the existing one is still there. Drongo tested this, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I did not know that. I thought it was just these 2 new ones. So now
Yep.
that makes that very, very interesting for
Yep.
sure.
So you can either get 3 knights and 3 horsemen, and you can also get 3 hand cannoneers and 3 crossbowmen. So just some more options.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
money wise, isn't the actually no, it won't be the best. I was gonna say, isn't the Treb still gonna be like the most value? But I guess not, because they're 750. Yeah, never
But
mind.
in the Treb one, you still get a knight,
A
what is
knight.
it? Knight, spearman, longbow, and
Yeah,
crossbow. Which the knight's still an extra 240 resources. Those are
right.
quite expensive. So I'm not sure the exact difference, but I like the viability of
Option.
being exactly. It was already the way to go, and now it's even more the way to go.
Yep.
Yeah, with the treb damage getting nerfed, it's kind of nice to have the extra options as English now. So we'll see how those get utilized. And Avia Kings, they keep trying to buff this thing to get people to use it.
This is such a terrible buff, though. Increasing the radius, who cares? Come
Yeah,
on, that's
I don't like
terrible.
this.
Ugh.
Again, it's the meme. It's the meme
Yeah,
of kings.
Now,
yes.
I will say I do think it's underutilized because I'm seeing so many builds where it's like 12 minutes and they have 4 longbows, and it's like, why are you building Council Hall? Like,
I
you're not using it.
So the reasoning it there on that one is when they're going with that fast castle build with the council hall, the 3 longbows forces out of stables or forces out a reaction, and if not, it gets fill picks. Or forces denial of gold or whatever it may be. And so that's why it delays the opposite person's castle age.
Yeah.
But I do kind of agree where sometimes you'll even see past that, they don't utilize it and they go with straight only knights, don't build any longbows at all, and then you're like, you could be healing up those knights.
Right.
See,
Right.
I'm team to Muslim here. He uses it, so
Yeah.
I could see it being utilized in team games, forward Abby and heal up the squad. But I
Yep.
think we'll get to the next kind of landmark that is just a way better Abbey of Kings. And so once we get to the Mongol, we'll start
Yeah.
talking about that one.
Yep. Okay, French Royal Institute discount increased from 20 to 30%, so they want to make it more competitive with Guildhall, which is funny because we've actually started seeing Royal Institute quite a bit at a high level the last month or so, like 3 weeks.
Yeah. It's funny. A lot of the complaints are always, French is the OP civ, their knights are too strong, and now they kind of make knights a little stronger if people know how to
A
utilize
lot
that.
stronger.
The key is a lot of times what I'll see even in the lower elos is people will castle up and they won't have any knights, and so it kind of is a big
Yeah.
a big difference. But like we said, in the higher elos, especially in French mirrors, we'll see Royal Institute. They'll have 15 knights already. They get the upgrade with the royal bloodlines, and those 15 knights turn unkillable.
Yeah.
So
Right. Well, they have fixed Chamber of Commerce, right? So now everybody's going to go Chamber of Commerce, and we won't see knights, right? Isn't that how?
correct, and the trade chip bonuses too. So obviously, we'll see a lot more trade coming out from French, and not as much pressure on eco from Royal Knights for sure.
Well, the Chamber of Commerce, it's a buff for Mega Random Nomad.
You
Free for
are
all.
correct there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And team games.
And team games. Yep.
I hate that they put WoW at the end of Chamber of Commerce. I hate that they made a joke about
how crappy it is.
about a bugged landmark
That they should have
that's
for
been
its
bugged
walls.
unusable for 7 months, and
Yeah.
and they're joking about it. I hate it.
Yeah, but here now we are on to actually the
Yes,
civilization that
yes.
I think
Super
got the
interesting.
biggest low key buff there is with the chapel. So obviously the chapel is the main utilized feudal landmark, and they did buff the Mindwork Palace to increase the discount and the speed to 40%. But now the chapel acts as a drop off for all resources here, and so this is just going to absolutely skyrocket HRE's early game to not have to. They can save easily 100 wood if they place it in a good spot. They can transition to farms around the chapel and don't have to build the mills and have to think about it as much.
The saving wood thing, not really, because you're never. I don't think I've ever built it adjacent to gold, and you need to build a mine to get to feudal anyway. Wood.
I'm not thinking about the gold though. I'm thinking about the times where you have, you could put it next to wood line and stone, or you can put it next to. A lot of times, what you'll see is deer and stone and gold mine is what it's next to, and you can get 2 of those resources you don't already have there at the beginning with your secondary ones. So I don't know, especially on maps like Altai or Hill and Dale, where you have that extra deer spawn next to you. You'll
I
see
feel
it
like the
utilized
only
there.
resource I'm ever putting it like adjacent to, like touching, is food, and you're gonna want the mill anyway for wheelbarrow. So I I think this is
I think
only
when you
really
see it in
useful when you make the farm transition. I think
I
that's the
think when
only
you
use.
I think yes, the farm transition. I think when you see it in game, there's times where you save the wood, and saving 50 to 100 wood that early is a huge, huge, huge significance, especially when you think of these fast castle builds.
Yeah.
And or even I heard someone already in earlier on today saying they dropped a second TC at 440 with Chapel. So that seems pretty
Well, that's
hard to
intriguing.
stop. Yeah, exactly. So saving the 100 wood, like I said, or 50 wood, like I said, dropping the chapel immediately on your stone and wood, your two resources that you need to utilize to get up to get that second T up and rolling, TC up and rolling. That's exactly where you can go ahead and pump that out early on.
Yeah, if you, I guess if you can put it on stone, touching stone, and still get wood, then it would work.
Yep.
I
If you
just
get
think
that map gen.
even if the not every map gen is perfect, I still think it's gonna just speed up the fast castle even more, just by a little bit, which is gonna make it even harder to stop. And I'm sure we're about to get into the other buff, or the not the other buff, the other change.
Yeah.
So
Now, with the not having, you don't have to put your mills as close now, so this might actually change how many farms you could fit under it. I don't know. There's that guy on Reddit that does all the HRE gear crafting posts. He's gonna, I'm sure, do that. So I haven't bothered looking at it.
That was exactly what I was thinking. He always has like the good drawings and images with it,
Yeah.
and
yeah,
he's like, "This is how you fit the maximum number of farms." And I'm like, "All right, there we go. We know
Yeah.
exactly how the max is."
So I'm kind of waiting for him to do that for this change.
yeah,
So let's see. The other big change was Regnets. So kind of interesting. So instead of 200% bonus, or yeah, 200% gold with 2 relics garrison, it only gives 100%. But it's also all captured relics, and you no longer have to put the relics in the Regnets. So
It's funny this one gets brought up because this was originally when Regnance was talked about getting changed from the 3 relics. This is what I talked about being the one that I thought made the most sense. So I mean I like it, and it pairs just exactly well with their forcing the hey, put your relics and other things. It pairs exactly well with that. Now you'll actually see people putting them in towers. You don't have to worry about bringing them all the way back to Regnance and immediately skyrocketing, your gold count.
So I think this could end up being possibly insane, because what people are gonna I mean, this is just a theory. Like, people are gonna send out vills and just make towers right next to where the relic is, immediately pick it up, put it in, and then just keep moving to the next one and get all 5 immediately.
It's funny you say that. That's literally exactly what I don't play HRE much. I do random civ quite a bit, and in a 1v1 yesterday, I did that exact thing. Except all I
Yeah,
did was if a relic was near a sacred site, I'd send out a vill, build the tower on the sacred site, pop the relic inside the tower,
right.
and then there was actually even a forward tower I got on the wood line. Stole the 5th relic and put a tower on the forward wood line that had a sprinkled emplacement at that point. And
Yeah.
I did end up going Burgrave to get map control to be able to do that. And so I didn't have the Regnants. I didn't need to throw them in there. So
Yeah.
that was kind of the funny thing there is I did that exact thing, but now you can end up seeing that potentially here with Regnants.
Yeah, so, like, you're gonna have to I think, it's an interesting change. I think it's a buff, for sure, personally.
I
I'd
like it
rather
as
have the gold, to be honest. But
But now you can get all 5. If you get all
yeah,
5, you're up to 1,000.
that's so
And
rare
you
though.
only need 3 though. You only need 3 to match what you're getting before.
No, you need 4 to match.
If you get all 5. I'm talking about matching the actual Regnants. Like the gold from the Regnants.
Yeah.
So if you, yeah, so 4 relics now is the same as 4 relics with this change.
Yeah, no. But
Yeah.
I'm saying if you only got 2 to put in the Regnants, because you're saying it's hard to get all of them, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so if you only put 2 in the Regnants, that's only 600. That's 600 gold. And then if you get, now you would need 3 to, like, match that power.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like, if you're not going to get all of them.
I see what
Yeah,
you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's really good. Also, the fact that it's now a monastery, as you're bringing back those first 2, you can be pumping out a 3rd prelate, um, to, like, be getting out there sooner. If you don't
So
have
yeah,
3 prelates yet,
I have
I don't know.
3. I have
You
3
always
when
have 3.
I always have 3.
Okay.
So that's
So
not a
do
big
you
change.
usually get 3 relics?
If I'm
Yeah.
not playing against French.
Yeah, true. I don't know. I think this is awesome. Like, gonna
Yeah.
be really good for HRE players.
Yeah, you have to be careful using the relics offensively, because once Trebs hit the field, the buff is kind of useless.
Well,
And
right.
so
Yeah.
if you're using them offensively and then they get Trebs out, I've done this before. You just lose the relic and it's like, oh, well, I
Yeah.
feel really shitty.
So
But
that's. I was thinking that, like, when you make those towers and put them in immediately
mhm,
afterwards, like, you go out and bring them back. That's just to
yeah,
immediately start getting the gold.
early
And
castle, it's
and then
nice.
you
Yeah,
can
it is
and
a
then you
nice buff.
just bring it back in
Yeah,
to
Yeah.
wherever you want them to be.
I
That's
think
what I
late
was
game,
thinking.
you build a keep or even the age 4 landmark and put a relic in it and put it by your farms. That's
Mm.
kind of what I'm gonna do, I think.
Yeah, I still think, like we said, I think HRE got a lot of positive changes. Even if people, like we said, we've been seeing Burgrave a lot more, anyways. But even if you see Regnants now, I don't think it's a huge nerf. If it is a nerf, it all depends on how you look at it. But obviously, they got double buffs on both their feudal age landmarks, which now helps them tremendously in the long terms here. So super buffs on
Yeah.
HRE here, in my opinion. And here, next up we got good old Mongols, everyone's favorite civ.
Oh
Also,
yeah.
real quick on HRE, the Ram Rush with the siege engineering buff and then the minework buff is going to be fast, and
be
that might
fast.
actually be difficult to deal with. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think I heard someone talk about that, or maybe post about a Reddit post or something of the sort. Getting men at arms out with mine work, immediately getting upgrades, like you said, get siege engineering, get ranged armor, and how are you going to kill men at arms with that ram rush if you micro it
Yeah,
correctly
that's
that
a good
early?
point. That's a good point.
So
Yeah,
good,
I
like
definitely buffs, big buffs.
increases the viability of different build orders.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. HRE might be the most diverse civ in terms of landmark viability, so that's fun. It's fun to play.
It's funny, they went from the most just one dimensional to now the most diverse kind of.
Mhm. All right, Mongols, everybody's favorite civ. So this, again, we talked about this earlier. Ignore this change. Traction Trebuchet is obviously hit by the siege nerfs. So bonus of the improved economy technologies increased from 5 to 7.5. Uh, I don't know
I don't
what the
really.
justification is there.
Don't think anyone ever buys those.
I was about to say I don't really ever see those utilized, anyways. But
Yeah.
this was the cool one, the curl tie. Like we said, we were talking about the Abbey of Kings.
Mhm.
The curl tie now increases the radius to 7.5, so the exact same radius that the Abbey got buffed up to, and the con no longer is needed to be present. And I actually have seen this utilized very, very strongly. You see it with the
Yeah.
Silver Tree builds in multiplayer games a lot, and with the healing not needing the con anymore, you can literally bring this up forward into your fight, have all your units there healing up with the damage bonus as well. So I think we will see potentially the Stepford out not being utilized 99.9% of the time. We might see like an 80-20, maybe. That might be a little
Maybe.
too
Yeah.
much, but I still think that this is a really, really cool change.
Yeah. So does it heal? I don't even know. Does it
Yeah.
heal during combat?
hmm
Yeah.
I've heard it does.
Okay. Because I've never used it. So
Yeah.
During combat?
Someone
yeah,
said
What do you?
it does.
because it
Huh.
doesn't. Yeah.
I didn't think anything did. Because Abby
My
doesn't.
someone in my chat who I actually played team games with the other day and utilized it says yes, it does.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
That's pretty. That does seem like it could be pretty strong.
I don't know if that's their intention though.
Yeah.
He always uses the curl tie.
So it's interesting changes for Mongols. They're remember the cannon emplacements are not quite as good. They're still strong. So very, very, very tiny nerf there, but curl tie gives them some extra options. Rus. So they can now access stone walls with the Spetskaya Tower. Pretty interesting. So will this ever be picked over high armory now?
Potentially.
I
I think in the biggest thing that you think about here is I think you will see the tower picked in the free for all Nomad Mega Random games. maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
That was kind of their big downfall in those, and that
It
kind
would
of
it would have helped. Would have helped Wham in the in
So
the Octagon.
this is where I will bring up a point that Beastie made today, is that this and a couple of other changes are almost could hurt the like Civ diversity or Civ uniqueness, because like part of what made Roost unique was the fact that they don't have stone walls. They have the wooden whatever you call it, the fortified palisades.
Mhm.
yep.
And so like by doing this and giving them stone walls, it almost is like bringing civs, like some of the nerfs and stuff are like bringing civs closer together almost, in terms of uniqueness. I s- only I don't feel as strongly about it as he does. But I don't like this at all personally.
Yeah, I
They
don't
need to
think
find a better way of buffing this Biscaya tower.
I agree with. I think all the keep landmarks are kind of very unique in their own sense, and they have like a
Yeah,
very odd choice of when you actually are going to utilize them.
right.
So it's hard to make them where they're worth utilizing. Like English, you can build units out of. French, they have the arbaletiers and so
Yeah,
on and so forth. But like, what's the positive benefit other than a big defensive spot? It's
yeah.
hard for pros to justify that in the long term of the game when they need to push their opponent and actually put pressure down.
So yeah, I'm not a fan of this at all personally, but
Well, speaking of pushing your opponent and putting pressure down, who is ready for the Kremlin rush?
oh yeah.
That was the first thing right when I saw this. I was like, who's going to be the first to try the Kremlin Rush again? Are
I'll
we going to
try it.
end up seeing it? I saw someone try it in a Nomad free for all game. It failed because the Kremlin right now is
It's
not really
awful.
worth anything. So this, I think we actually might see some. How did you
I
just
think
get
it's still
inside?
not going to get used at all because its basic functionality is still terrible. Like
Yeah,
it's not providing you any real bonus.
high trade house is just so good and it scales so well that like you have to put your opponent significantly far behind
Yeah.
with the
Golden Gate.
Kremlin
Yeah,
landmark
yeah, the Golden
to
Gate.
win.
Yeah.
Yeah, Golden. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, Golden Gate.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, high trade house. Yeah, I read this and it popped in my mind. So, the aura is now fixed, so it'll actually correctly count the trees that are getting. It gives you a better representation of how it's actually going to calculate the gold that it pays out.
That makes
And
sense
yeah, that's
because I
about it.
felt like there were times where you'd be like, "This looks like there's a ton of trees in this," and it'd have
Yeah.
less than like what another one would be, and you wouldn't feel like you could count them, and you'd be like, "That's not right." But now obviously they'll fix it like they should.
Yep. All right. So, wow, that was a big meaty patch again. I'm sure this will change 4 or 5 times before it actually gets pushed out to the main game. But anyone
Yeah.
can mess with these on the pup, and you should give devs your feedback, let them harvest your data and see how all the civs are performing. Uh, you know, go lose as China, so they'll buff you.
There you go.
Yep. All right. So we also. So I was traveling last week. So I was. Whoops. There we go.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, there's other stuff.
Yeah, Golden League wrapped up since we last recorded, so we're gonna fly. I mean, we've been here for a while, so we're kind of gonna fly through this. Uh, Marine Lord victorious over BC Cutie, 5-1. A little bit of controversy because I believe it was game 3. BC had his first scout go out to get a sheep. He sent it back to his TC, and about halfway back, it turned neutral, so it never made it back. Because of that, he ran out of food. He had to build the mill early. It delayed his feudal by like 40 seconds. And as French, that's just an absolute disaster. And he kind of made a video detailing that. He got pretty tilted and thinks that contributed to sort of his suboptimal play the rest of the series. So kind of unfortunate for him. That sucks. I've never seen that bug before. And
Yeah.
I
that was kind
have.
of his
It's
thing
happened to me
too.
a lot actually. So it happens when you're another scout. It could be your own, a teammate's enemies is gets in the radius. What it's kind of doing is it's allowing that sheep to have a chance to go over the other person since it just got put away. Yes, it shouldn't happen with your own one when you
Huh.
put it up to your town center, but his second scout came out, and if you'll notice, that's the exact timing when the sheep went neutral is when his second scout came out and went by it, and he could have, if he noticed it at the time, it would have just been one little misstep with your scout to collect it in, click it
Yeah.
over again. Because even after it happened, I think it happened to me two games that week, and I was like, all right, well now it's happening a lot more, or at least I'm noticing a lot more. But yeah, very unfortunate. He did talk about it kind of just turned his series in a downward spiral, and Marine Lord able to finally get over his hump of not winning his S tier tournaments and getting that big victory he always wanted.
Yeah. I mean, he's over. Oh, in a way, you could say he's overdue. Obviously, you have to earn it, but like he's clearly in the top 1 or 2 players. Like,
Mhm.
there's no doubt he's good enough to deserve that win.
For sure. And then Viper and Puppy Paw battled it out for the third place. And since BC made the finals, the winner of this got the automatic qualification spot to Wololo Legacy. So kind of an interesting series there. The first 4 games, they just they traded civs back and forth. And so French versus Absid, French won both times. Delhi versus Roost, Delhi won both times. And then we had French Pass, HRE versus Mongols. I'm wondering if the Mongol pick caught Puppy off guard at all. And then Viper whipped out the Silver Tree. So that was an interesting game.
I don't think it caught Puppy off guard. I think he took a little too much damage from the tower rush, and I think his nerves got to him. I heard BC talk about it too, where it was like he kind of just overreacted and made some weirder plays than you wouldn't really expect, going for odd resources and pulling military, or where he could have easily stopped a tower and chose not to. And then yes, the Silver Tree boom absolutely caused Viper to have an absurd amount of resources coming in, didn't get punished, and was really cool to see that. I wonder if going to a best of 7, if we would have ended up seeing a game 6 being Mongols versus HRE on the other side, and just back to back, just flipping the matchup over and over until the ending came out. But really cool series there to end up watching though, and finishing like that.
Yeah. So yeah, that means Viper punches his ticket to Wololo Legacy. He's mainly going to focus on AOE2, so I'm sure that's going to upset some people that he's going to take up a spot for AOE4 and not practice. But I don't blame him one bit for doing that.
No. And he'll probably still be in a top 8 player. Like,
I was going to say,
sure.
We'll see how the scene develops, because that's still several months away. But right now, Viper with no practice is probably a top 16 player still.
Yeah, and I think he learned in what term? N4C. He learned that he does need some practice at least. So I'm sure even though he'll be mainly focusing AOE2, he'll probably practice enough that he doesn't get wiped quite the way he did in N4C.
Yeah. So anyway, it'll be fun seeing Viper do double duty. So again, with nonstop AOE4 content, we rolled right into the June weekly number 1 for Wololo Legacy. So kind of some interesting results. So big turnout. I think there were over like 250 players. So one of the funniest results, I think, Core lost round 1 to some player with no.
Why you gotta call him out like that? Why you gotta call him out like that?
I didn't know about this. I'm so happy you brought that up.
See, bad week for Core. So in the Outback Octagon, he narrowly misses out on the Wonder victory as Mongols, and he was so distraught by that he drops out of the first round in Redbull. So poor Core.
Yeah, the guy he lost to got pretty far, I believe.
He did, yeah.
In the tourney, but yeah, there were some cool little matchups, cool games that went on, and obviously, it was fun kind of seeing the first matchup, first week, and how it played out. I know, in my opinion, pool number 7 was the bracket of death. Very, very hard pool. A lot of really good name players. The big thing is I know Don already made the big upset, beat Wham, and did not allow the brother matchup, even though they had a show match the next day, or I guess the day after. Did not allow that, but that was what everyone was expecting, and a lot of tough series going on there, though.
Did you spectate that one? I didn't. I didn't get to see that one. So
show match?
No, the Wham versus Don Artie.
No, I was casting the puppy versus the bear.
So I wonder if EGC had that. So I wasn't able to watch all of day 1. So I wonder if EGC broadcast that one. I would like to see what happened there. Yeah, so some other interesting things. Caspa played some, just kind of random guy early on, and he Wololoed like 25 villagers. That was pretty funny.
Nice.
Let's see. So last time we talked about some names to watch that could kind of crack the top 16 and qualify. So I brought up Hut. He lost to Kaio, which is a name we kind of overlooked because he's been pretty consistent throughout all of AOE4. So he's a name to keep an eye on. I was kind of looking for names I recognize from other RTS games, and Zhuge Liang was supposed to play, but he didn't register in time. I guess he was supposed to play Simtum in round 1. That would have been really fun, but wasn't meant to be. So hopefully we see him this week. And then another name that we haven't seen in a little while is I Am Magic. So some people might remember he got top 4 in Seal Series, and I think he got top 8 in the EGC Winter Championship. So I looked at his AOE4 profile, and he's been grinding ranked. So he's starting to put the time in. I think he can qualify easily if he puts in the effort.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say this. I literally have Troy's stream up, one of the guys that I play with a lot, and he is playing against I Am Magic right now.
Oh, jeez.
In ranked.
Yeah.
It's Troy's quite good, so it actually might be a decent game over there. But another name in that bracket, you see who I Am Magic lost to, who is one of the multi RTS players, is Capoche, and he obviously made it through. Secured himself up some extra points in weeklies, and like I said, I know he's one of the guys that grinds multiple games, and he has been making his move on AOE4 here.
Yeah, it's good to see a lot of them coming back because a bunch of them had left, like the AOE2 players and players from other games had left for a while, not playing AOE4 much. It's good to see them coming back into the Red Bull tournament.
Yeah, Capoche has been around forever because so good to see him. He was kind of the surprise in the top 8, I think. But so in StarCraft 2, Idra raged so hard at Capoche that Evil Geniuses fired him.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. It was on stream. He's like, "I hope something really bad happens to you. Like, I hope you get cancer and die or something."
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So that was against Capoche. So, that's how long Capoche has been around.
That's crazy.
So funny to see him in the top 8 there. And so Puppy Paw was supposed to play against Beastie Cutie, but had to forfeit. Dabs, you know what the full story was there?
Yes. So keyboard issue. His woke up that morning, tried to get game going up and running, and keyboard was not working. I know he mentioned I can try to go to Best Buy and go buy one. It'll take some time though. Wham offered his up, but I mean, I don't know about you. In a series against Beastie Cutie, if you're not playing on your keyboard where you're not used to it, I know I think Wham mentioned that the keyboard sizing was different, or the key spacing was a little different. So I mean, there's not really a chance there against Beastie, and so he just decided, rather than dealing with that headache, he's just gonna throw in the towel and give it a shot here next week, and saying, hey, top 8 was good enough at least.
Yeah.
So obviously he would have wanted to compete for the prize money, but as far as the points go, I think his ATR is high enough to where he'll get in the monthly regardless.
I know Wham and him both have been grinding a little bit of ranked ladder some more as well, to maybe have not have that headache of Wham. I know it happened to Wham where his ranked ladder and his ATR were both higher than his seeding, but the way the seeding worked out means that it's because they do it based off of both. I think it was like top 6 of both, and it just didn't work out to where his seeding was way lower than both of his ATR and ranking. So they're both grinding up a little bit more. So we're definitely going to see a lot different brackets here in the coming week. I don't know when they get announced. Maybe tomorrow or the next day.
Yep. And then it looked like we were kind of cruising to another Marine Lord versus Beastie final, but the Muslim snuck in there and upset Marine Lord. So yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I personally was happy to see that because I feel like the Muslim lately. I mean, obviously he made it top 8 in Gold League. Like, he's obviously one of the best players in the world, but it's kind of felt like he's had trouble getting the wins recently against like Beastie and Marine Lord and the top guys. So
And
I
I feel
think
like
I think it was good seeing him actually pull out the pull out the wins.
Right, and I feel like he's been very close, but he's had, a couple big headache things. I know he came out with that video about, his siege being bugged out that one game and some clicks, shift clicking bug kind of things.
Yeah.
But now this hopefully will get him over some of that frustration. Obviously, he was able to pull through some series and actually get some victories that were much awaited.
Until he ran into Beastie.
Of course. Well, of course. CG cutie.
Yeah.
Yep. So of course we have week 2 coming up this weekend, and we might see the Mista. So
yeah, I did see. I forgot whose stream we were watching. Actually, I think it was Killer Pigeon, and he chatted in there and said it actually has finally rained in Greece. He said it previously it'd been like 2 months or so, which makes his job a lot harder.
Ooh.
The rain makes it easier, and the rain makes him allow himself to have days off. So it's been raining a little bit there, and he has signed
Good.
up for this weekend.
Good.
Yeah.
You know who else signed up?
Shoebaca.
Last week I could have knocked Marine Lord out in like round 2, but I couldn't be there, so that's the only reason he made it to the top 8.
Yeah. Also, Blade is registered and might not
is
be.
he?
He might not be hungover this week.
Yeah,
think.
he said he's not going to do his Friday stream, his drunk Friday stream, I should say,
Drunk Friday
to give him that struggle Saturday morning.
Oh, good.
But the biggest thing to me here that's the most exciting is, which first off, huge shout out to Adney. He is the one who has put in a ton of work in the modding community, and shout out to all the other modders who have submitted maps, doing things out there, which I'll have a little announcement after this. But new map Frisia Marshes is being played here in the Wololo next week, which I don't know if anyone has had the opportunity to check out the game that Casfa and Lucifron. They've played on a couple of the modded maps here that just got posted by EGC TV. It is a very, very cool map. It's going to be very interesting, and that is like a super hype thing to see. A big difference here in the week here.
Yeah, it's awesome. The game needs more maps. So having the Drongos tournament to make maps and then seeing them actually used in pro play is awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
I really hope we get to see Mirror Random that Wham and Puffy Pod did their show match on.
I don't believe we will see Mirror Random based off of maybe some responses on Reddit, but I do think we will start seeing more and more of the modded maps come into the tournament map pools, things like that, and maybe even tuning packs. And you can always make a tuning pack that actually makes stone walls only able to be built in Castle Age and things like that. So we might see those in the future in tournaments, but now this is the first step in that direction. Having in the big Wololo qualifiers is one of the first modded maps.
And isn't it the first map played in like all the best of
3s and 5s.
Best of 3s and 5s. So it's gonna get played no matter what.
Yeah, and it's a really cool map. If no one's had the opportunity to check it out, as I mentioned, Lucifron and Casva had a show match on it, posted by UGC TV, and I believe you can just download the mods as well and play them just by searching them there. Like I said, Frisia Marshes. It's really cool. It has a lot of little pockets of shoreline fish, and so the idea there is you can go over, build the mill. If those aren't aware, your villagers gathering shoreline fish is actually the fastest in the game, and so faster than the boar. So if you're able to build those mills, secure up that side of fish, it can really skyrocket that food economy, and I think will be a very, very cool dynamic to see how pros adapt to that.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so the other kind of big event we have going on right now is the Outback Octagon. So I have not watched yet the ones that were played today, but all the ones from last week were very entertaining. So if anybody hasn't watched those, definitely hit up Drongo's YouTube channel. And poor core, that's all I can say.
I did not get to watch the first one today, but the second one was quite an odd and funny game. I won't give any spoilers for you since you haven't watched it yet, but it's like I said, just some odd things go on that you're kind of just start questioning the game, and you're like, all right, well, it kind of is what it is, and it works out like that.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, the one thing we're missing there is for the spectator be able to see the in-game chat. It's kind of hard to see. I want to see all the drama, but from Drongo's perspective, unfortunately, as of now, we cannot. So
Yeah. I completely agree there, but it's obviously more weeks coming with it. He might end up getting that update out there and somehow have that opportunity there.
I sure hope so. Well, yeah, this was a doozy of a podcast with all those patch notes, but
Yeah.
I think we trundled through it. And either of you guys have anything else, any shout outs you want to give before we wrap up here?
Yeah, so my big thing, like I said, after announcing the Frisian Marshes, this was where I actually had a map competition planned here in the future. I've been hammering down details, and that will be announced here this week. It's gonna end up being played by pros that don't qualify for Wololo. There'll be some money that they're able to end up gaining there, so it'll be really cool seeing them play a lot of the maps. They'll be judging just how it said, and the main thing is there's actually going to be 1v1 maps, and there'll be an opportunity for 2v2s as well. So we might see some
Ooh.
team games there, and giving them a lot of time to submit the maps. I know with Drongos, I saw some comments that said, "Oh, I wish this would, I wish I had more time. I wish I'd known, sooner about this." This will have the opportunity for, those precious maps that these people have been working on for so long. They'll have the time to submit them, see them played by, some top players, and obviously money on the line for the modders as well, for those who win the competition and have those maps played. Like I said, that will be announced later this week here.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Exciting.
It is. It's something I actually planned for a while before Drongo even announced his, and then I saw
Yeah.
his, and I was like, well, I'll just kind of wait and try to time it up with something that makes sense.
Yep.
And obviously, I want it to be on a weekend where I can actually do it and cast it, and a lot of the other players can play, and so it makes it a lot easier where it's kind of in between. It'll be played in between Wololo qualifiers finishing and actual Wololo playing.
Yeah. That's good planning. Yeah, it's kind of tough with Wololo being every weekend. So
Yeah. So
makes sense.
yeah, really cool there. And also, I guess the other shout out is Adiko and the War Chief Club. I know he has swapped up a little bit of the structure there. I believe it's Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays, at different timings. I think there's an Oceania one, a Euro one, and an Americas trial as well. I think it might be Tuesday through Fridays. So shout out to him and all the work he's put in. I know I will end up casting some of the America trials in the future weeks.
Perfect.
Cool. Shu, you got anything?
Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun, and thank you for letting me kind of plug in low elo legends there at the beginning. And I hope you guys keep doing this.
Oh yeah, you know it.
Absolutely.
Let's go
Yeah,
get some games in.
Yeah, so
Yeah, probably.
so in the YouTube description, I'll leave the link for Low Eagle Legends. So anybody who is interested in that, definitely check that out. Super fun event. Shu, thank you so much for putting that on. It's a big deal for the community, for everybody to kind of have that opportunity. So
Awesome. No problem. Yep. It's a lot of
all
fun.
right. So cool. I think that's going to do it for tonight. So we will see you all next week.
All right.
Ooh, thank you everyone.
Yes,
See
thank
ya.
you.